Hi everyone, this is BritSimon. So I wanted to record a video today to explain a fairly complex subject. It's going to involve looking at some data and some spreadsheets, etc. And for a lot of you, it's not really necessary for you to know this information. But this will kind of appeal to DV lottery geeks and nerds that really want to understand how the lottery works and why some countries are included in the lottery and some countries are not. And towards the end of the video, you're going to see and you're going to get an understanding for why I think there might be some fairly big news coming about which countries can participate in DV 2024. It's, like I say, for a nerd or a geek who likes this stuff, it might be interesting. For most of you, you can just wait until the announcement of the instructions closer to the beginning of DV 2024 entry date, which we now know is October 5th, right? October 5th is when the entry will start. Okay, so you probably understand that the lottery rules and the way it's organized is determined by a set of rules formed way back in the early 90s. The first DV lottery actually was 1995. And since then, there's been some changes, but the underlying law has not changed very much, right? And one of the things that is decided by a formula is which countries can participate in the lottery and which cannot participate in the lottery. And the reason some countries are kept out of the lottery is that the lottery itself is designed to be to encourage diversity of different countries. And so if there's a country, and I'm just going to pick on a couple of countries, China and India, for example. China and India already send a lot of immigrants to the USA through various categories, employment-based, family-based, and immediate relative, and so on. And so, and those countries, therefore, are excluded from the lottery, right? And the actual formula that is used to decide whether a country has got too many existing immigrants each year is they total up each year the immediate relative, employment-based, and family-based visa categories for each country. And then they take a rolling window of 5 years, right? So you look 5 years back. So for that number for those three classes of immigration, add them together for each of the last 5 years, the previous 5 years. And if that number in total is over 50,000, then the country will be excluded from the lottery because it's not necessary to promote diversity to a country such as that, which is already bringing enough immigrants, right? And so instead, other countries will get a chance. The idea of the diversity visa lottery is to fill the gap with more diverse people. Okay, we're not talking about skin color, we're not talking about religion, we're talking about simply where do people come from. And America has always thrived on the idea of diversity and the idea of immigration, and continues to want to enjoy that benefit, right? Okay, so that being said, now it would be possible, if you understand that basic sort of science or that basic rule in the law, it would be possible, if you had the data, to figure out how the government figures out those numbers, right? Okay, so let me show you where they publish the data, because most things that the government does are published, and they give us data from previous years. Now, there's a thing called the Yearbook of Immigration Statistics, and you can go into many of the previous years, but we only have to look at the 5 most recent years. And I'm going to come back to the 5 most recent years point in a minute. But in there is a table called Table 10, which is persons obtaining lawful permanent resident status by broad class of admission and region and country of birth. Okay, that's kind of what we want. Now, I downloaded the data for each of the 5 years that you see there, the DV, so 2020, going back to 2016. So this is a bit of an eye chart. I'm sorry about that. But I did a little bit of sort of data scraping and adding up and Excel tomfoolery, and basically got a list of countries and then added up the immediate relatives of US citizens, family sponsored and employment based categories. I did not include, because it's not included in the law, the diversity, refugees, and other categories, right? So it only includes those three categories. So for example, in 2020, 899 people from Afghanistan came on those three classes, right? And then if we look at the 2019 table for the same thing, you can see that Afghanistan had 1,106. Okay, so you can take those numbers for all the countries and all of the years, and you can plot them into a sort of a pretty messy spreadsheet. Sorry about this. I haven't worked on this spreadsheet in terms of making it look nice. I just wanted to explain the concept, right? So then for each of those years, 2020, this is 2020, so these two columns are 2020. So it's Afghanistan, and there's its number for the three classes of classes of immigration. And so I did the same thing for 2019, 2018, 2017, and 2016. Right now, I went through this process and figured out which of those countries goes over or under the 50,000. And I found that I was able, using this data, which is only published up to 2020, I could exactly predict or confirm what the government said was the list of eligible countries in DV 2023. And that's because in DV 2023, they would have been using this data set up to 2020, right? Now, frustratingly, we don't have the 2021 data set yet. They haven't published it for some reason. And so it's late. I don't know why they haven't published it, but they should have published it. They've probably got the data, but they haven't published the data, which means that in DV 2024, they're going to use that data in order to determine which countries have gone over or under the 50,000 limit. But let's just look back at the 2020 data and figure out and talk about what this means, like, you know, whether a country has any chance of coming back into the diversity lottery or not. So if we look at, for example, Bangladesh, I always get questions about Bangladesh from, you know, Bangladeshis, I guess. They're asking, you know, when's Bangladesh going to come back in? Well, as you can see, Bangladesh in 2016 sent over 18,000 people in those three categories. It's been decreasing since then, and Bangladesh comes down to 9,100 in 2020. But still, the number is 72,000. So certainly in DV 2023, it made sense that they were out for DV 2023 because that number is too high, right? We look at another country, Brazil, for example, and they had 78,000 over the cumulative 5 years, right? And sorry about this spreadsheet being a bit of an eye chart, but let me just make this a little bit bigger so you can see that a little better. And that's too big. There, that should be about right. Okay, so that's probably slightly better, not very much better, but slightly. Okay, so we talked about Brazil. Now, Canada, here's an interesting one. Canada. Okay, so they had 9,300 people in 2020 come into the country, and 11,000 and 9,500 and so on. In 2016, they had nearly 12,500 people. And the cumulative value of those was 53,592. Okay, so they were 3,592 above the 50,000 number. Now, what happens if the 2021 number was appreciably lower than the 2016 number because it's a rolling 5-year window, right? Now, if there was some reason why immigration from Canada in 2021 was significantly lower than the 12,462 number by actually at least 3,600 people, then Canada could come into the lottery. They could become eligible to enter the lottery. Now, what do we think happened in 2021, right? What happened in immigration? Well, there was a huge backlog, there was a huge problem. I mean, basically, immigration was shut down for several months in 2020 because of the COVID crisis. There were also bans going on, etc. So it could be, even though Canada was right on the border, and maybe Canada is a poor example of this, but it could be that Canada had a significant reduction. I mean, they've only got to go down. If we look at 2020, it's 9,300, right? That's already 3,000 less than the 2016. So if Canada doesn't come in 2024, it will probably come back in 2025. I say come back. I don't think it's ever been in the lottery. I'm not sure, actually. I don't think it's ever been there. But it would come into eligibility for the lottery at that point. Do you get that? Do you get the importance of that? That's an enormous difference. Now, Canada would come into North American region. And right now, North America, I almost never discuss North America. I got one guy in the world who hates me for various reasons, but partly because I don't talk about North America for some reason. He's not North American. He's just pissed off with me all the time, and he picks on that particular point for some reason. But the point is, Canada would inflate the numbers for North America, and it would drastically change the quota calculation for not only North America, but also the other regions, right? So that could be a very significant change if that happens in 2024 or 2025. And I don't know, I think it's quite likely to happen in 2024. We'll have to see. I can't be certain. We won't know for another 2 or 3 weeks, but it would be very interesting and not a big surprise to me, at least, if Canada was suddenly found eligible for the DV lottery. Let's go through some other countries and just discuss those with the same principle. China, you can see 277,000. There's no way they're coming back in anytime soon. But look at the difference between 70,000 in 2016 and 36,000 in 2020. There was already an impact in 2020 of the COVID crisis, of course, but that would have bled into 2021. That's why I'm talking about this, right? So the number that we haven't got access to yet, the table D, 10D data from 2021 would tell us this precisely. I could exactly plug in the numbers into this spreadsheet and figure out exactly which countries are going to be included. I haven't got that data, so I can't do that right now. But the government are probably working on that same thing. Okay, so China's too big. Colombia, too big. It's out now, and it's going to stay out for a while. Dominican Republic, too big. El Salvador, 105,000, too big, right? Now, let's look at this one. Guatemala came back in to the lottery, and actually is now in as a borderline. Now, I don't think their number will have increased. It will have, if anything, decreased in 2021, and therefore I don't think they're going to become ineligible. But they are borderline. Okay, so it's connected by landmass. So if for some reason in those 3 categories, remember it's got to be immediate relative, family-based, or employment-based. If in those 3 categories, Guatemala has increased its number and increased its number more than the 10,000, there'd need to be what, a 2,500. So it would have had to have increased to 12,800 or so in this year. It seems unlikely, but who knows? We'll be watching Guatemala, right? Now, here's another one. Honduras. Honduras is out right now. It was out for DV 2023. But again, it wouldn't be a big surprise to see Honduras come back in. They're at 11,979 in 2016. By 2020, they had dropped down to 6,700. So they only have to sort of be 3,747 lower than the 2016 number in order to get them back into eligibility. So we could see Honduras coming back in. And we'll continue down the list here. India's out for good reason. Jamaica is out for good reason. South Korea, etc. And again, you can look at the DV 2023 instructions that has the list of countries that are ineligible, and you can precisely see from my model here why those countries were ineligible. Every one of them. I mean, it's an exact predictor. I'm 100% certain of this methodology, right? Nigeria is out, and Nigeria, again, I just like Bangladesh, I get a lot of Nigerians from time to time asking, when are they ever going to come back in? They're probably not, is the answer. Their numbers stay consistently high. They're over 50,000 quite nicely. 69,000 is the rolling number now. They're probably not coming back in anytime soon. And the thing is, if you think about those three categories, immediate relative of a citizen, a US citizen, or employment-based, or family-based, right? So when you get a lot of family inside the country, and those family members start sponsoring, the more people in America that are bringing people from those other countries, the less likely it is that they'll go under the 50,000. Do you see? So Nigeria is probably only going to go up, right? Nigeria's own population is increasing dramatically. There's more Nigerians around the world. There's more Nigerians in America, and there'll be therefore more Nigerians getting employment-based, family-based, and immediate relative categories. That's how it works, right? Okay, Philippines is out, and again, will stay out for a while. Now, we've got two other interesting ones down here. The United Kingdom, and this freaks me out to think that the United Kingdom is so close to coming back in. But the United Kingdom is 4,029 people over the 50,000 at the moment. But their 2016 number is 12,545, and their 2020 number was 9,500, right? So just like I said about Canada, it's looking pretty likely that they could get a reduction either because of the COVID effect in 2021, or a reduction as this quite high number, 12,500, drops off, and almost a 1,500 increase from 2016 to 2017, and then another decrease down here to 9,800. So if this number, if the United Kingdom number goes below 9,500 fairly significantly, or stays below 9,500 for the next couple of years, then the UK could be back in the lottery again, radically changing the makeup of the lottery in Europe. Although I have to say, just like we see in some of the other North European quite wealthy countries, they don't tend to have a lot of people who enter the lottery. So it would change the allocations between the regions and for the countries in general, but it may not mean that we get a lot of people from the UK in the lottery. We'll have to wait and see. But it's possible they'll come back. And then Venezuela, I think is, Venezuela was on an upward trend. So their 2016 number is only 8,800, right? Whereas their 2020 number is 10,000, just over 10,000. But they're only 1,600 above. So they would need a number that is 1,600 below the 8,800 number in order to get back in immediately for 2024. So we could see a change there also. Vietnam's not coming in. So you can see where I'm going with this. There are a few countries that are on the verge of either coming back in or even dropping out, but there's not very many that are likely to drop out, but coming back into the lottery. And when those countries come back in, it changes the makeup of the lottery. It can change the regional quotas because the quotas are partially determined on the population of the eligible countries. So it can change the quotas between the 6 regions, and it could change dramatically, the sort of the distribution of the entries within a region, such as Europe or certainly North America, if Canada comes in. So there you go. That's what I wanted to explain. Sorry, that's all a bit geeky, but we will see this confirmed in the next few weeks in DV 2024 instructions. As soon as we got the instructions, they will list the countries. I'll show you what I mean by that. They list the countries which are eligible or ineligible. So if we look at DV 2023 instructions, for many of you, in 2023, it's probably the first time you've seen the instructions, isn't it? Because I just find, people just don't seem to read them. But anyway, Bangladesh, Brazil, Canada, China, and so on. This is the list of ineligible countries, right? And as I mentioned before, you can exactly 100% tie each of these countries to my spreadsheet so that if I can reliably predict or understand why they were in for 2023, then if we had the data, I could figure that out for 2024. But at least you understand, hopefully, if you've understood this video, you can understand, exactly why it is that this process picks certain countries and makes other countries ineligible. It is a part of the standard law that describes the lottery process, and that's exactly that. You may think that's weird, but that was exactly the intention of the diversity visa lottery. That's exactly why it was designed that way. Okay, everybody, I hope that was interesting to some of you. And of course, as we get ready for DV 2024, right now, DV 2023 is continuing. Last thing I would say is about I created a video the other day about the visa bulletin. For DV 2023, there's been a visa bulletin that was published for November interviews, and the visa bulletin was identical, number for number, identical with the previous month's visa bulletin. That looked very odd to me. I do understand mathematically why that might happen, and I explained that in my previous video. However, it looks odd, and I felt that it was a mistake. I felt like it was a mistake and that it would be corrected on Thursday or Friday. It wasn't corrected, and then on Friday they actually sent 2NLs to people as if everything is normal, right? And so that tends to support the theory that the visa bulletin is correct, that those numbers won't be changed, and then you'll have to go and watch my other video to understand why that happened in that case. Now, in theory, they could still change the numbers on Monday or Tuesday. I just thought that if they were going to recognize that that was a mistake, they would have changed that already on Thursday or Friday, and they didn't do that. And so I'm now moving towards the point where I think those numbers were genuine and correct. They're not bad compared to previous years, actually. So it's not a disaster, and people certainly shouldn't be predicting where we end up at the end based on those first 2 months of VB. That's a completely wrong way to do things. So please, everyone, keep calm. If you're DV 2023, the fact that we've had that visa bulletin with no movement whatsoever doesn't mean anything bad that wasn't already the case in DV 2023. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for your time. Please do make sure you're subscribed to my channel. I provide a lot of good information. Very accurate information, I do this because I want to help people who are going through the DV lottery process. I myself got my green card that way. I'm now an American citizen, but I got my green card through being the derivative of a Spanish person who, my wife, who we both entered the lottery. She won, and I got my green card. So. So I'm giving back, and I understand what it is like to be a DV lottery entrant and selectee. Okay, that's why I do this. All right, everybody. Thanks for your time today. Thanks, and keep well. Bye-bye.